So here it is about your individual computers. Guys, I have a computer, right? I have a laptop. Maybe I have a desktop, right? You have your own laptop, right? So my laptop is different, your laptop is different. How? We'll see that one. You have a system, you have a computer or you have a laptop. It is a individual one. So it is not controlled by any of the organization or any centralized system is not there. Okay. It is not a it's not a controlled by like a you can install any applications you want. Okay. You can able to install any application you want to do any settings, you can able to do it in your system. So that's what we call it as a workgroup PC. The concept of workgroup is little additional things are there. I am telling in a normal way. A workgroup PC means your laptop or a desktop is a workgroup PC only. So you can install what are the application you want it, what are the settings you want to do it, what are the background screen you want to put it. So you can able to do it. Okay. So that is your rights. So that is a workgroup PC. In the workgroup PCs, of course, you have a user accounts. You have your own user accounts are there. These are local accounts. This we can call it as a local accounts. User accounts in your workgroup PC is a nothing but a local accounts. What is the local account? Means the user information stored in the same PC. So whatever the user you have created in that PC, so the in user information, user authentication is in that PC only. User information and user authentication. One second. User authentication in that PC. Like for example, in this PC, I have a user account. For example, Latif is a user account here. Or maybe a student dev is my user account. So where is this student dev user account information is located? In this PC only. Okay. In this PC, that username, password, user related settings, everything stores inside your user identity information stores in this PC only. Okay. User is got authenticated by this PC only. User is authenticated by this PC only. When I log into this PC with user dev and given a password, who is going to authenticate? This specific PC only. So that is local account. Okay. In these local accounts, again, two types of accounts are there. Mainly, user accounts are two types. Sorry. User accounts are two types. One is administrator account. Another one is standard account. Administrator account. Another one is standard account. What is an administrator account? If your user is a administrator account, for example, in my PC, I have a student dev is a administrator account, and he's a local account, and he's a administrator account. Means he is a administrator of my PC. If you want to change anything in this PC, I want to install an application, I want to change my things. I'm logging as a student dev. See this one, I have two account. One is student dev, another one is student dev 2. Okay. So this is an admin account. I can able to install an application. I can able to change the settings. Okay. I can do manipulate anything. I can do anything in my PC because it's a administrator account. And I have another account that is called a standard account, that is student dev2. This account, if I log in with this account, I can view things in my PC. I can able to read the document. I can do the web browsing. I can do few things, but I can't change the settings. I can't install application. I can't uninstall the applications in this PC. Okay. So I will show you those two accounts. So by going to one thing is you can go to the control panel. So one is like you can go to control panel. Yeah, system is slow. It has to be updated completely. Then only we can able to see. And find out accounts related kind of stuff. User accounts. You can see user accounts. And who is the user? Student DAO is a local account and is an administrator and it has a password. Manage other accounts. See, is a local account only. Dev2 is a local account, not showing administrator because he is a standard account. Because he is a standard account. Another way I will show you the user accounts. Go to the settings. Go to the accounts. Go to your account. So this is my account, local account, and he is a administrator. Go to family and others. You can see this is Dev2, another account, local account, but he is a standard account. Standard account or a standard user it is. What is the difference? This user is an administrator account who can able to change the settings, can able to install, uninstall the applications. Is an administrator of this PC. And that use administrator information is stored, that user account information stored in this PC, and it will be authenticated by this PC only. Okay. And here is another account called student dev2. It's a standard account. He has a limited access permissions. Of course, he can do web browsing. He can create a documents. He can delete the documents. His documents. He can able to do it. But he cannot install or uninstall an applications. He cannot create any local policies, kind of stuff. Okay. And his information also stores in the same PC called in a local PC only, user information and authentication by the same PC only. Okay. So there is a few small points also there. Once again, we'll go. The user accounts are administrator account and standard user or a standard user account. Standard user account or a standard account. If user account is admin account, so you can able to install an applications, you can change settings in your PC. You can uninstall and install the application. Standard accounts are a limited access. Cannot install and install an applications, cannot change in the PC. The local accounts are a local account users. User information means username, password, and other user identity related information stored in that local computer only. It means the dev information, student dev and student dev 2 information stored in this PC only. Okay. And who is going to be authenticated? This PC only. If I log in with a student dev, this PC is authenticating. If I log in with a student dev 2, this PC only authenticating. Okay. So what is meant by authentication? Verification of user identity. Identity Can you able to hear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now I can able to hear.
Okay, I think yeah, now it is showing. Sorry. So which part you missed?
So after authentication.
Yeah, very good. Okay, the last part only it is. Okay, good. What is an authentication? Verification of identity. When you are login, so the system, maybe like you are login to Gmail account, you give in username and password. What the actually it is before it is showing your mails, what it will shows your username and password. First authenticate. First authenticate means yes, your correct username and password you given. So once it is authentication completed, then authorization. Can you able to access this service or cannot able to access the service? It's a specific service or all services. Okay. So for example, I have a document. So can I able to access it or cannot able to access the user permissions on it? Okay. User or group wise permissions like allow or deny users to access. It's like a user can able to access or cannot able to access. For example, I have a shared printer is there. So I want to access the shared printer. So first of all, I should authenticate, then authorize. So in authorization, yes, your authenticated username password correct, but you're not allowed to access it. Then you can't access. That is, authorization will give either allow user to access or deny user to access, or means no access. Okay. I said no. There is a one point. It is. Uh, okay, guys, this is about a work group PC. In a work group PC has a user, the user is a local account user. In work group PC, the user account. In your PC, you have user account that is a local account it is. It means your user information and user authentication, user information is in your PC and authentication is also done by your PC. And if you are an administrator account, so you can able to do lot of things. Means you are administrator of that PC. Okay, you can able to control your settings. You can able to change your settings. You can able to create your local group policy kind of stuff. Every PC has their own local policy, except in home editions. Okay, so there is a local group policy settings also there. Okay, so if you are using a Pro or Enterprise Edition, Professional Edition or Enterprise Editions, you'll get this local group policies. Okay, this is also settings to control your PCs. Okay, not available in Home Edition, so that's why we are not required to put anything on it. Okay, it's not in every PC, so it is need a home kind of stuff. So that's why I'm just dragging it. Okay. So you have your system and you have your user account and the user information and authentication is done by same PC. The next part is work group and domain. And I'm talking about a first about a work group. What is a work group? Of course, what have we discussed earlier, that is a work group PC. And as taken as a individual PC, that work group PCs have taken as a individual PCs. But if you connect these individual pieces, okay, for example, in your home, you have a 10 laptops are there, or maybe a 5 laptops are there. So, or maybe you created your own network with a 10 computers. Maybe if you go to organization, means like a small office kind of stuff, you have a systems. All systems are individual systems only. All systems are individual kind of stuff. For example, this is PCA, PCB, PCC, D, E. Okay, these are all individual pieces. Okay, for example, in this PC, I have an account. For example, Harsh is a user account of this PCA. Okay, Shivam is in PCB, Nidhi in PCC. Nidhi came and using PCC. And I want another names. Deepak is another easy name. Amit, another name. Okay. So I have 5 computers and each one having a user account. All are individual pieces only. It means Harsh user account information stored in this PC only. Harsh is getting authenticated by PCA only. Shivam user information is PCB and he's can able to log into PCB and authenticated by PCB only. Okay. For example, Harsh want to log into PCC. Harsh want to log into PCC. He cannot log in. Why he cannot log in? Because Harsh information is in PCA. It is not in the PCC. So Harsh cannot access PCC. Cannot control PCC. Okay. Same way goes like a Shivam cannot access A or C or D or E. But Shivam can able to access B because his username and user information and he will get authenticated by B, so he can able to access. C cannot authenticate Shivam because every system is individual and they can able to share information. They can able to access network. They are all connected in the network. They can share information. They can share resources like a peer-to-peer only. Okay, so this is called a work group model. In a work group model, there is no centralized administrator, no centralized control, no centralized control it is. Every system has their own administrator account. Every system has their own administrator account. One system user cannot able to access another PCs. User and password and setting information stored in their own PCs. User one information stored in C1, like that. Can control or manage individually, not centrally. We can, for example, it is an organization. I have a 50 computers are there, and I'm a person who is going to be do all this admin kind of stuff work. Okay, so I have to go to each and every PC. Then I have to do some settings. For example, I have to do firewall setting in a 10 computers. I have to do a firewall setting in a 10 computers. So I have to go to each and every PC and do the firewall setting. Can I do it? Can I
Yes.
go to? Yes, we can able to go for it. Little difficult, but still we can make it. Same problem, guys. Same Ashish. Ashish, class at 10:30, not 12:30. Okay. So if it is a 10 systems, even it is little difficult, I can go for it. Not much difficult. I have a 10 systems. I can go to each and individual PC, log in with the local administrator password. I should know the local admin password, right? I should know the local admin password and then log in and I can. So I'm the person. For example, I have 50 computers and I have to do some firewall setting in a 50 computers. So what I have to do? Go to each and every PC, log in with their admin account and change the settings. 50 computers, 10 computers is a very little difficult. 50 computers, it's a little difficult. 100 computers, 200 computers. It's very difficult to manage if number of devices are very high. We cannot go to each and every PC and cannot do the setting. That is, keep it in one mind, one point it is. Okay. Second, for example, I have 1,000 computers are there. So don't worry, 1,000, 100 computers. Take like an example, 100 computers are there. And 300 employees working on these computers in the three shifts. Okay. 300 employees working on 100 computers. So what I have to do? In each computer, I have to add another three users, right? For example, here I add Amit and I have add something like Raj. Okay. I have to add another one is Aman. Okay. So I'm adding three users here. Amit came in morning and done his work. Then Amit is log out. Raj is login and done his work is log out. And Aman is login, done his work and log out. Like this, work is going on. All are individual PCs only. So like that, every PC have to configure three or more users. Rahul, huh? So 1 second, guys, just 2 minutes. Yeah, sorry, small work. Can you able to hear, guys? My mic is working or not working?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Audible. Okay, right, good. Okay, so what we have tell, here it is, there is no centralized authentication. Every PC is authenticated by their own users only. And one user cannot be authenticated by other system. Okay. If you need to use more number of users by one system can be used by multiple users by creating users inside that PC. More number of users has to use a one PC means more number of users you have to create. Okay, understand this point? That's why I told. So one PC you create a three or more. And and in case if this system is crashed, and then what happened? Yeah, you will tell Amit, no problem. Today you do not have work. You can go home. We can't say, right? If any system is available, for example, Deepak is not there. I told Amit to go to the Deepak system B, and access this one. Can Amit can able to access DPC? Cannot access because Amit account is not there. Then we have to add Amit account here. Okay. Then Amit can able to access. But this account is different, this account is different. Both are not same accounts. Both are not synchronization. Nothing is there. Because there are individual pieces, individual accounts only. Okay. So it is more number of PCs are there, difficult to manage. In one system, if multiple users are required to access, you have to create multiple users accounts inside. Okay. If system is down, the users cannot able to access their system. So they have to access other system means in that other system, their account is required. So this is a work group model, guys. It is decentralized administration. So you have to administrate each and every PC individually. No centralized control. Every system or a PC has their own administrator account. With that account only, you can able to manage individual PCs. Okay, C1 has its own admin, C2 has its own admin, C3 has its own admin, C4 has its own administrator. And that admin and password we can able to manage. More number of devices, it's very difficult to manage. And we cannot control centrally, we can control individually. And the individuality, it's very difficult if no more number of devices. And the password informations, that user name and password, the settings will store only in that local PC only. Okay, guys, understand what is a work group, what is domain?
Yes, sir.
Very good. The domain, we discussed about a work group. What about a domain? Not about a domain thing. It is also almost all same thing, but little terminologies are added here. It's not fine. Okay, here it is. Same as I have a devices are connected in the network. I have devices are connected in the network. And these devices, I initially are individual devices only, but I want to control them centrally. For example, I want to make a setting in this species. I don't want to go to that individual pieces. I have to control it from centrally. So what I have done, I created a centralized server. which is called as domain controller, which controls, okay, which is called as a domain controller. What is a domain controller? Is nothing but a server. In this domain controller, I have a database. I have a database. This database is, what is the database? Means what are the systems are joined into the domain. Domain is a logical space, guys. What is a domain? A logical administrative boundary. Okay. Those are in my domain. Those are in my domain. There are belongs to me. Instead of A, I will take another terminology like a C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6. So what I make it, I join this C1 into this domain controller. I join this C1 to a domain controller. So the domain has a database, got information of their domain computers. Those computers join into the domain, that information is available here. Okay. And also I will create a users in the domain controller only. I will create a users in the domain only. We create a users in the domain only. Okay. We create a users in the domain only. The domain, the users I created in the domain called a domain users. These domain users can able to log into any of the domain computers. For example, I can log into user 1 in the C1 because C1 is in the domain, and user 1 is a domain user can able to log into any of the domain computers. So user 1 log into C1, user 2 log into C2, user 4 log into C3, user 7 log into user 8. So user 8 is login here. So how can they can able to log in? Today, for example, they log in like this. Tomorrow, a user 5 login here, user 6 login here, user 4 login here, user 3 login here, user 2 is login here. Order is changed. They can log in to any of the domain computer. Any of the domain computer they can able to log in. How it is possible? Because this domain controller authenticate users when they log into domain or domain computer. Any domain resources, a user is login who is going to authenticate a domain controller. For example, user 1 login to C1, but C1 do not have user 1 details. Where the user 1 details are located? In the domain controller, in the domain controller database. So what will happen? The information sent to this domain controller for authentication of user 1. And domain controller authenticate user 1, verify user 1 name and password. Once is authenticated, it will give authorization to user 1. Yes, user 1 is authenticated. Now is authorized to access C1. And because of C1 is also part of domain. Okay. Once again, what is a domain? Domain means it is a centralized administration thing. There is a domain controller, which is nothing but a centralized controller or a centralized server, which is nothing but our domain controller. Domain controller contains a database which is having a information about domain users, computers, groups, services, and resources. Okay. Domain controller, there is a domain administrator is there. He is the administrator of all the devices in the network. There is an administrator. Domain administrator account is the administrator of all the devices, those who are in the domain. Okay, those who are in the domain. A domain administrator is a admin for all the systems in the domain. And as I said earlier, I want to configure a firewall setting in my PCs. Simply, I will create a group policy. In the domain controller, I will create a group policy settings related to firewall and apply to my computers those required to configured with these policies. And these policy settings will be applied to all the systems. Those are linked to the group policy. It will be applicable. Okay. What is a group policies? It enforces various types of settings to large number of users and computers in the domain using group policies. Enforce various types of settings to the large number of users and computers in the domain. Like it can be a firewall setting, or it can be a desktop background setting, or it can be some network related setting, maybe application related setting, maybe application deployment related settings. Okay. One second. Okay. Domain user can log into any domain computer. Once again, guys, there is a domain controller. Domain controller contains a database. Domain controller is a centralized administrator control, centralized controller it is. And this domain controller has a database which contains information about your domain computers, the computers who joined to the domain. And domain database contains user information. The users are called domain users can able to log into any domain computer. Okay. And when this user is login, who is going to authenticate? The domain controller is going to authenticate the user and authorize the user to access it, not individual one. C1, C2, C3, C4 does not contain, of course, C6 does not contain information about any of the domain user. Okay. So, but domain user can able to log into these C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. Why? Because of there are in the domain and the user information is available in the domain controller. So these domain users can able to access it. Okay, guys, understand up to here? Centralized administration, domain controller is a server, is a centralized controller. The domain controller contains like a user group, computers, services, and resource information stored in the centralized system or a server, which is we call it as a domain controller. And through the domain controller, we can enforce various types of settings to large number of users and groups and computers using the group policies. Okay,
Yes.
that is the one. But there is a thing, and no one is asking why I left C6. Can I log in with any of the domain user? For example, there is a user 9 is available. Can I log in with the user 9 to C6? And why cannot see? I didn't draw the group policy on the C6 also. Why I left the C6 aside? Anybody? It's a simple thing. Try any answer, no problem. Why not C6? Can I log in with the user, domain user to the C6 PC? That is one question. And why I left the C6 aside? So from the starting onwards. Why? Why? What is this? What is this database represent? The computers, those are joined to the domain. There are domain computers. C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 are joined to the domain. So these are the domain computers. 666 is not joined. That's why the database C6 is not showing here because C6 is not joined to the domain. If it is not joined to our domain means it's not part of our domain. Maybe it is a workgroup PC, maybe it's a part of another domain, but not in our domain. That's why it is not there. We don't know about anything about a C6. That's why our user, our user cannot log into C6. And our group policies cannot be applicable on C6 because those joined to the domain, there are belongs to our domain. Those who are not joined to our domain, there are not belongs to our domain. Okay, it can be a user, or it can be a computer, or it can be a resource like a printer or a storage devices. Okay, those are joined to our domain. That is our part of domain. Printer. Okay, so that is the point of thing. Domain is a centralized administration. Centralized control is there. That is called a domain controller. Domain administrator is a admin for all the systems in the domain, enforce various types of settings to large number of computers and users using group policy. We can enforce different types of settings to the large number of computers. So you need to go to individual PCs and do the setting is not required. Simply you configure a setting in your centralized PC and enforce those settings. Okay, so that is the point. And in the domain controller, there is a database contains information about users, groups, computers, services, and resources. Domain user can log into any of the domain computer. Guys, here it is an explanation about a work group and the domain with the names. So work group, every PC has their own, every device has their own administrator account. For example, Amit is a local administrator of PCA. So Amit can able to change the settings, install and uninstall the applications, and can give the permission access to anyone. Okay. Amit can able to manage PCA but not other PCs. Need to user information stored in PCC, not in other PCs. It means Neetu can able to access PCC, cannot access other PCs. You want to do any making any changes in individual PCs in the network, So you have to go by one. Okay. So in the domain, there is a domain controller, which is nothing but our server contains a database, and this database is about your domain users, domain computers, and domain resources. Okay. It's a domain resources. User information stored in the domain controller means username and password stored in the domain controller. Computer joined in the domain called a domain computers. User in the domain called a domain users. The domain user can log into their domain controller. Domain admin account is there. That is a administrator for all the devices in the domain. And there is a highlighted point you can see. Domain user log into domain computer and the domain controller authenticates the user. Okay. Whenever a user is trying to log in, user 1 log into PC 1. Okay. But the authentication is done by domain control because PC 1 does not have information about user 1 and his password. So it will send an authentication request to the domain controller. Domain controller verifies username and password, authenticate the user. So then once authenticated, domain controller give authorization to the user to access the PC1. Okay, that authentication and authorization done by your domain controller only. What is this? Another point it is. What is a domain? A logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Simply say it is a logical administrative boundary. If you see the C6 in the same network, but not in our domain, in the same network, but not in our domain, it means it is a logical administrative boundary of users, groups, computers, and resources and services works within that domain only. Okay, simply say what is a domain? A logical administrative boundary of users and computers. I put AD domain, so there is a reason when I said it is a AD domain. So if you type domain in Google, people, some people will search about a domain in a Google. When I say domain, so they will search in a Google. They will say different things. Like a domain is an URL, domain is a part of URL, domain is a group of systems, domain means group of things, kind of stuff. In English, domain means there is a several meanings are there. In a computer side or networking side, also domain means there is a. When you try to search about a domain, about what I'm telling this domain controller, domain work group environments, that time compulsory search like a AD domain. So you can see what is AD domain, Active Directory domain kind of stuff. You will get that information. Okay, it's collection of objects in the Microsoft Active Directory network. Object, single user or a group can hardware component something. Okay, it gives something at least some relevance, but it is not required to search in Google, guys, because I given all the main points into in the notes only. A logical administrative boundary of users and groups is a domain. A domain user is login to a domain computer, but domain controller is authenticate users. The domain users we don't create in the individual pieces. We add these domain users into the centralized system called a domain controller. Okay. Not only computers, guys, the resources also can be part of domain. For example, user one want to access printer one, which is a part of domain. So user will ask permission from the domain controller, can I access the printer one? And it will authorize the access. So user one can able to access it. This picture shows I am in the workgroup PC. So why I have opened this one to show that are your PC is a workgroup PC? Guys understand what is a domain? What is a domain abbreviation? I told means the definitions, information. Do you understand anything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. What is this? If you have a system, are you in the domain? Are you in the work group? You can check it simply. Go to just type about your PC because you are using either Windows 10 or a Windows 11. Just type about your PC. Okay. So see your operating system version also here because there is a small point. Go to rename this PC advanced. If it is shows, if it is not showing, no problem. Okay. If it is shows, rename this PC advanced. Click here. So then it will open your system property window, computer property window like this. System property window, computer name. Can you see work group? Because this PC is in the work group, not in the domain. I click on change. Can you able to see? It is a member of domain or a member of work group. It is a member of work group and work group name is work group. I can change the work group name also. Depends upon that. Or I said no, there is another part of work group things. I'm not going to that one. I'm a work group PC. In this PC, I'm not uh, I'm not getting any policies or anything from any other system. The users I showed, the users are local users, and I can log in with my local account. I can do whatever I want to do it. Okay, it's not controlled by any of centralized PC. Okay, so because of I'm member of work group. Guys, understand how to check it? If not,
Yes.
okay, yeah. If it is the rename this PC is not available, you can choose any of these options. You can go to advanced system settings or system protection. I'm going to system advanced system settings. Click here and then click the computer name. See, it is showing like this. When you click on this, showing this, go to the computer name. See, you are in our group or not. And then if you go to this change, member of work group is work group. Guys, most of your laptops are home editions. In the home editions, this option, the domain option is disabled because the home edition pieces cannot join to the domain. So that's why it is disabled. You cannot see this one. Okay, you cannot click on. So that is, yeah, tell me.
Can we check from here also that the domain is connected or not?
From where?
System is connected with domain or not?
Uh, that is if you have that environment, you can check it. From here, yes, yes. If you are a part of domain or not. So this is to check, are you in work group or a domain? Okay. I will show my system. My personal computer is a part of domain. This is my laptop. Okay. This is my laptop. So rename this PC advanced. So can you see? I'm in the domain because my organization put my laptop into domain. I'm the part of this domain. My computer is part of domain. So can you see member of domain? Domain name is 70s.com.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So this is part. For example, you want to join to the domain. If you want to join to the domain, in case a domain environment is there in your network, you have to click change, select domain, give the domain name and click OK and it will authenticate. If you want to see how to create the domain environment, I have lot of videos in my YouTube. Okay. So you can check it how to add a client to domain. So there you can able to see that one. Okay. That's why I've opened this one specifically to show whether you are in a domain or in a work group. Okay. So that's the main points, guys. So next class, I'm going to explain about what is an Active Directory. Why? Because of I want to create this domain controller. So then I have to create a active directory. So that's I will explain in the next class. I am explaining only the domain concept, but active directory, DHCP, DNS, this kind of stuff I am going to explain. Where I copied all these things? Oh, I missed this one. The servers and services, I copied under directly this one. So actually, it should be end of our last class, but accidentally I skipped one part. Okay, so this is a mistake. So that's what we have discussed, guys, how to connect the two devices. And when you are connecting a multiple devices in a network, so that is a work group systems. Individual PCs are connected into a network. So that is a work group network it is. Okay. So why we need a work group PCs? Just for communication purpose only, nothing more in it. Okay. So of course, work group PCs are individual PCs, those who are connected and communicate each other. Okay. And each and every PC has their own local administrator account. With that account only, we can able to do any changes, installations and all. And these individual PCs can be managed individually, not centrally. Not centrally. User authentication and user settings, we cannot enforce like a central thing is not there. We have to go to each individual PCs. But in the domain, all the devices, all the computers are under the domain. Those who are in the domain is controlled by domain controller. We can enforce various types of settings using group policies to these computers and users. Okay, and the user information, computer information, group information, services, resource information stored in a domain controller's database. Whenever the user is logged into a domain computer, so the domain controller authenticates that user. Domain controller authenticates the user. Okay. And those who are in the domain, those who are not in the domain, it is not domain controller. Never, don't worry about it. Okay. It's never forget. So domain means a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Okay. So to check, are you part of a domain? Are you part of a work group? Go to about your PC. So just click on rename this PC. If it is not available, select any of these like advanced system settings and go for a computer name. There you can find you are part of work group, means it shows which work group you are belongs to. If you click on change also it will shows are you part of work group or a domain. Okay. So if you are part of domain, it shows you are a domain. And if you're part of work group, it shows your work group. And this active directory tomorrow means next class I'm going to discuss. Okay. But tomorrow mostly Sai Prasad will going to take your class. I hope you know already by that uh, service desk videos. From that he introduced another person, right? So there is a service desk related kind of stuff. He's going to be take care of your ITL tomorrow, plus some networking related, which is I asked because you got some doubts how real time network one organization to another organization connection is there like that. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can do it. And I'm again telling guys, so same thing I'm telling to these people, like a sum of one or two people joined after 12 o'clock. Don't do it. Tomorrow, even if it is possible, tell all your guys to join by 10:30, 10:15, 10:30. Okay. So be there at 10:15. By 10:15 to 10:30, he was going to start. Don't miss his class. joining, leaving. Don't do like that. Okay. We get a thing like a very senior level person is real time person is going to teach. Don't miss that classes. Okay. That's it for today. Tomorrow, make sure everybody is available, be on time. Don't join after 12 o'clock kind of stuff.
Okay, sir.
Be there before 10:30 and talk to him. So when he asks a question, give some answer. Okay. And if he scold also, no problem. So please discuss. If you involve with more interest, he can able to explain. Okay. Respond. Anything like, do you understand means respond yes or no kind of stuff. Okay. So do like that. That's my point, guys. Okay.